Hello and welcome everybody to the MTG Paper Legacy Discord Saturday finals for our tournament. I am Pres BTW and I'm joined here by someone who hasn't been here in a while, Oliver V.
It's good to be back, y'all. I am so excited to be here today. The main reason is we have a really slick deck that made it to the end of this Saturday challenge with us here today.
Yeah, no, this is going to be super sweet. So we are going to be seeing Evil piloting Doomsday, which he's been proving very good at doing in the past couple months here. But the big thing, though, as well, is that we're going to have R the Letter here on Abzan Witch House. And this is a deck playing 4 copies of main deck Paladin class out of Forgotten Realms, which is super cool. And also, the wish board for what R has is wild.
So first of all, we kind of have to say here that should be a lopsided matchup, right? But there's one thing possibly standing in the way. Normally, Doomsday would just absolutely crush Enchantress. It's an incredibly bad matchup for them. However, this one flex card out of the new set, Paladin class, might be the one thing that R the Letter is going to have to really slow Evil down and prevent Evil from just going Dark Ritual Doomsday win on the next turn, right? Because turns out that first mode on Paladin class does make all of Evil's spells cost 1 more to cast on his turn, which means all of a sudden Dark Ritual into Doomsday, you need 3 mana to start that off.
I actually don't think it quite works that way, because I think it's just spells cast on R's turn cost more.
Oh, I totally read that backwards. No, you're so right. All right, I'll be totally honest. This feels very lopsided then.
Yeah. Let's just hope that we actually get a match here. That would be sweet. So
yeah. So the cool thing about this new Witch House list is it is playing Sithis Harvest Hand. It gives it kind of this critical mass of 2 mana Enchantress effects now, where previously you only had Argothian Enchantress. Now you're able to play 3 Argothians and 4th Sithis. That along with the Green Sun Zeniths kind of makes it so you have pseudo 9 Enchantress effects that are pretty cool. And you then I'm sorry, you have 13 because you also have the Enchantress's presence still. But
yeah.
here's my question: how do you think Enchantress will be able to beat Doomsday game 1? What's going to have to happen in this game for R the Letter to be able to pull it out?
This one's gonna be really difficult. I'm just trying to think here about what the best thing to do is, and I'm pretty sure you're going to need to wish for an early endurance.
That is true. The thing is, you are going to be presenting it to Evil, right? So, the Living Wish, Evil's going to have the known information that the endurance is in hand, and so can make his pile that, even if it prevents him from winning on that turn or next turn, unless R the Letter is getting that endurance into hand and is putting on substantial pressure, Evil will be able to just wait 3 turns and then cast the Fastest Oracle, basically playing around the endurance, right?
Yeah, for sure. The thing that's I just want to say here as well, I could be wrong, but those look like black bordered 7th edition wild growths, which means those could be foil.
Ooh, that would be gorgeous. For those who don't know, of course, 7th edition for most of us plebs is a white bordered set. However, the foils are all black border, makes them highly collectible. And also, if I recall correctly, all the reprints in 7th edition were new art. Am I correct
yes,
in remembering
every
that?
single card in 7th edition had brand new art. So it's the first printing of every artwork, and that is the reason why 7th edition foils are out to lunch expensive.
Now, let's see. So one thing that does need to be said here is Evil's version of Doomsday that he is on is actually the Sultai version. But most importantly, it's the personal tutor version, basically maintaining consistency and just trying to go jam the Doomsday as often as possible, right? Kind of older Doomsday lists, or kind of the alternate way to play, isn't on the tutor package, but is on a higher amount of cantrips. Kind of like actually playing the preordains, which aren't in this list. Personal tutor just makes it so you can really reliably get the Oh, we have Doomsday on the stack already.
Well, that's
all right, yep.
Fast.
So this is a turn 2 Doomsday. Again, yep. Evil is just in this match. No, he knows the matchup now, right? If you see Snowcard Forest into Wild Growth, you immediately know what you're playing against.
You would assume some kind of an Enchantress shell, unless you're trying to play some kind of a Ponza deck. But this is definitely more than likely an Enchantress deck, very specifically. I guess Utopia Sprawl could be. Actually, no, Utopia Sprawl is a big thing for Ponza and Modern because Wild Growth isn't legal, but.
It's all right. You have it's basically the same thing, right? It just
Yeah.
means that you I believe if in modern Ponza, it just means that if you put the Utopia Sprawl on your own stomping ground and you Blood Moon, it falls off, right? That's like the one trade-off with it. But Evil's
Yeah.
gonna go ahead and make this pile of 5. It's gonna be incredibly hard for Are the Letter to be able to get through this game 1 now, right?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of would be again to just Living Wish next turn for an Endurance. And then I don't know if you have the mana here to yeah, I don't think you have the mana to cast both Living Wish and Destiny Spinner in the same turn.
I
But
don't
you would
believe so.
basically need the Destiny Spinner to make it uncounterable, and then that way you can just Endurance from there.
Yeah, of course, like we said, the big issue with that is Evil then knows that you have the endurance in hand after the Living Wish reveals it, and can just basically wait 4 turns to cast
Yeah.
it with
Oh,
almost
no,
nothing in your
here. It
graveyard.
looks like Are the Letter is oh, oh, never mind. Okay. Okay, Are the Letter is asking for the information of what is in Exile now. So Exile for I've had to teach a lot of people this. Exile is a face-up public zone. That information is public. You are allowed to ask to see what is in Exile right now. So Evil is just going through there, and R is probably taking counts on very specifically the number of brainstorms, the number of force of wills, the number of dazes, and then potentially Cavern of Souls as well. Although that may not matter for an uncountered spell deck. That's usually what I look for.
Interestingly, we did see the ideas in Unbound in the deck as Evil was showing with it, so the
Yeah.
ideas Unbound is not in the pile, and that's
Yes,
common card that can
Ideas
go in
Unbound
there.
is one of the other cards. My bad. Sorry. That
No,
is
no,
a
no, all good.
one of cantrip that is very, very specific to Doomsday and Legacy these days.
I didn't catch the Edge of Autumn. I do believe that's in the pile. We could have missed it going through.
Yeah. I
But of course,
also don't recall seeing Street Wraiths either, or I didn't pay attention to how many Street Wraith.
no, I didn't either, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
Though one thing that he also did gain from that information is just knowing that this is the personal tutor build, just like we were talking about, knows that Evil is even more likely to be able to jam it on turn 2.
Yeah. So we see a Sithis the Harvest hand here.
Now this is
So
a beautiful card. Love me
yeah,
this card.
it,
Immediately went in 3 different EDH decks.
nice. So this is really good. However, the problem is that this will not stop Thoracle from killing you.
We're just playing it out, I think. Make
Yeah.
kind of pressure Evil to have to make the choice of whether or not he actually goes for it. I imagine we just do here. I
Yeah.
mean, you only can be blown up by endurance. If you put a force of will in the pile,
Yeah.
you'll be completely fine.
There we go. 2 Street Race, and then we haven't seen the Edge of Autumn yet either. Floating a blue. I love the way Evil has the markers there. Floating the Edge of Autumn. So we
Is
got a
gone.
blue floating. So he has drawn 3. This is card number 4 now, so there's 1 card left in library. Evil's at 5 life too. So that's another thing as well, is that Evil basically has to win right away here.
Well, kind of like,
Cycle Street Wraith down to 3. Oof.
and
Cavern of
there we go.
Souls, blue, and
That's
the
the
blue
Oracle.
floating, cast
Here
Thoracle, and an empty
we
library.
go. Yep.
Yep. That's it for game 1.
And that's the way it's done.
Yeah.
Exactly what we kind of predicted out of this game 1, right?
Yeah.
Evil to be able to just jam it. Are the Letter really was relying on Evil having like either a bad opener or just stumbling a little bit and be unable to find the Doomsday. But let's
Yeah.
jump over into sideboards and see what these players are going to be doing.
Yeah. So I will say Are the Letters Wishboard here. I don't think there's a single card from this coming in, to be totally honest. We got 1 Emrakul the Aeon's Torn, 1 Endurance, 1 Solitude, 1 Spore Frog, 1 Gadok Teague, 1 Kasali Pride Mage, 1 Destiny Spinner, 1 Plague Engineer, 1 Doomwake Giant, 1 Collector Oof, 1 Argothian Enchantress, one Caracas, one Sarah's Sanctum, one the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale, and one Grist the Hunger Tide.
So I'm gonna call you on none of these cards coming in. I
Yeah,
think
I
there's two
actually,
cards
when I
coming.
read the list, I think there's probably at least one that's going to come
I
in.
think there's gonna be 2 cards coming in. I think your Living Wishes are you're almost always gonna wanna convert them into Endurance or at the point that you're going off and are trying to kill Emrakul. So I think that you bring in 2 cards, namely Gaddock Teague and Collector Oof. Collector Oof turns off Lotus Petals and the single Lion's Eye Diamond that you expect in these builds. Of course, we didn't see the Lion's Eye Diamond, but you expect it to be there. The Gaddock Teague can just turn off Force of Wills. You're never gonna Living
Yeah,
Wish for it. It isn't going to be the thing that you want to be targeting with it. But having it in your deck as a green sun target that you convert for, or that you can draw it to, Paladin class, despite what I initially said, isn't going to be as good as Gaddock Teague, right? Paladin class is only going to really interact with Force of Wills,
yeah.
because everything's going to be happening on Evil turn, so that's a really easy switch out. Uh, and part of me wants to say an Argothian Enchantress can come in as well, also over Paladin class, but I don't know what the critical mass issue is with this deck. I don't know how many enchantments you can actually be cutting reasonably. Is there anything else that you would like to bring in?
No, I think that's reasonable. I could maybe see an argument for a main deck Solitude, I suppose. Um, just again, that is not a card you're gonna wish for. I think you leave the endurance in the sideboard absolutely, because one copy of endurance in the main deck versus four copies of endurance via Living Wish, I think is definitely what you want to be doing there. I could see the Solitude come in just in case Evil wasn't expecting it, and then that way you're not telegraphing if Evil tries to go off of a one card library. Then you can just exile the Thassa's Oracle and then stifle, or like functionally stifle the trigger.
I do like that specifically when you have endurance, right?
Yeah,
Where if you Living Wish proactively for the endurance and then make Evil play around it in his pile, you can get him in a situation where he goes for with like a single card in graveyard, expecting it to you then can endurance, he'll let that resolve thinking that it's fine. And then after that's all happened, there's one card, that single like Doomsday or whatever that's in the graveyard is there. You then Solitude at that moment and blow them out in right there.
yeah.
But that's kind of nichey. I'm not sure if you want to do that. Again, it's kind of whether or not all these other cards are worth it. Again, Paladin class. I feel really
Yeah.
disappointed about how hyped I was on this card in this matchup. I need to read
Honestly,
cards.
honestly, I think a lot of what's coming in is going to be based on how many cards that R wants to cut.
Well, Cast Out and Oblivion Ring are also not great. Like those
No.
are other cards that are cuttable. So I feel it's easy to get in. Maybe we see Destiny Spinner come in as well, just because again there are so many bad cards that can come out, and Destiny Spinner's both a threat and able to interact with the prevent Force of Wills from countering the endurance if we have that happen. So I can
True.
imagine that happening.
Yeah.
Let's jump over to Evil's sideboard real quick. So Evil has 4 Leyline of the Voids, 3 Defense Grids, 2 Force Negations, 2 Veil of Summers, 1 Thassa's Oracle, 1 Carpet of Flowers, 1 Consigned to Oblivion, a little bit of a reader, one of the good old Aftermath cards from the Amonkhet block, and Massacre. So, real quick, just for the audience, we'll read Consigned to Oblivion, because that's not one that you're expected to know as a Legacy player. The front half is return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand for 2 mana, instant speed. The other side is 4 and a black, sorcery speed, Aftermath. Target opponent discards 2 cards. Do you think any of these cards are going to be coming in, or are we just running this back?
I actually really like Massacre here. Being able to use Massacre to just wipe all of the shrouded Argothian enchantresses, I think is really good. Same thing. You'll also be able to hit Sithis and Destiny Spinner with it. Oh no, sorry, Destiny Spinner is a 2/3. Sithis is a 1/2, and Argothian Enchantress is an 0/1. So Massacre will clean up all the enchantresses, but it will not clean up the Destiny Spinners.
I do like that. Defense Grid doesn't feel like it's worthwhile. I mean, you are only expecting to have to deal with endurances out of the board. For the
Yeah,
same reason, maybe Force Negation doesn't come in. You just want to keep in the Force Wills. I could see potentially bringing those in if you're trying to kind of stymie any other potential interaction. But I think we're just going to run it back with maybe that Massacre in, to be totally honest.
yeah. And
Of note, the
apologies,
days.
I think we missed a follow there. Skizzy, I believe that says. Thank you very much for the follow
Thank
here
you,
today.
thank you. The dazes aren't amazing in this matchup. You are both on the draw, and you're going up against a wild growth deck.
Yeah.
So are the letters on the play? Did I let's check chat real quick. Did either of the players mulligan at all?
Both keep 7.
It's good.
So R plays Heath Pass, and then Evil is on Delta Pass. So we'll see how this goes. Hello, Tensai. Thanks for playing today.
Tensai, how did the event go for you today, good sir? Evil just with an immediate fetch.
Yep.
Goes and gets that UC. Maybe we're going to see that personal tutor or a cantrip come down. Let's see it.
Thoughtseize.
Thoughtseize
Oh
instead.
no, this is not what Enchantress wants to see.
All right, show us that good stuff.
We got a bunch of lands. We got what looks to be an Argothian Enchantress.
A Green
A
Sun Zenith, a Wild Growth, and is that the? I think that's the
Oh, that's a
Oblivion Ring.
Living Wish. That's a Living Wish. Sorry.
Oh,
Green
okay.
Sun Zenith, Living Wish, Oblivion Ring, and Argothi and Enchantress's Presence. And these are all foil. All foil. So those were foil 7th edition Wild Growths.
All right. Well, that is quite gorgeous. Well, what do you take here? Do we just go ahead and grab the Enchantress effect, or do you take the Green Sun Zenith?
I take the Living Wish here. I'm not worried about anything that would normally be in an Enchantress main deck if I'm Doomsday. So I don't want to know what's in the sideboard.
Oh, that's true. So it's kind of a question of I think that you don't. Are we taking the Green Sun? The
Looks like
Green
you're
Sun
taking
is
the Green
going.
Sun here. Okay.
So it's interesting. He is so Enchantress is not a common deck anymore, right? And
No.
there are so many variations of how it's done. I do know, from my understanding, at the very least, most Enchantress lists I see nowadays are not the Witch House version, which is running the Living Wish package. So there, I personally would do exactly what Evil did and be afraid of the cards that were brought in more than the stuff that's in the sideboard. Again, I would be expecting multiple endurances out of any random green deck.
Yeah.
And so in the case where you have multiple endurances, I would be expecting more of them to be coming in than actually staying in the board. So I don't know. We'll have to see whether or not this is right. I imagine we will see a jam Living Wish and go and get endurance here, though.
Yeah, and I think that's very specifically the thing that I would be more concerned about is that after seeing the Living Wish, you know you're on Witch House, meaning that a lot of your good stuff is probably not in the main deck.
So I guess it comes down to how much should the average legacy player know
Oh,
about Enchantress versions?
this is very good though. Destiny
That's a good
Spinner
rip.
here is huge. Also, Destiny Spinner, hilariously, is one of the few cards that makes everything uncounterable but can be countered itself.
Very true. If you have a Force of Will, you spend it here, right?
Yes. Well, I guess it depends on how much other counter magic you have in hand, right? Because you can still counter the Living Wish, you just can't counter whatever the Living Wish grabs.
Evil
Because,
tanking here, trying to decide what's
yeah,
happening.
Force of Will, pitch Force of Will. Oh, goodness.
Well, that's still a really good Destiny Spinner.
Yeah,
Stripping 2 Force of Wills out of the opponent's hand, that feels pretty good.
yep. Let's just hope it's good enough. That being said, though, maybe that was just bait, because if Evil just has Doomsday here and not much else in hand, if this is just untap, go grab Endurance, then that might be bad.
Well, something's happening.
Yep. Fetch
It
here.
does it does look like this is about to be a slam turn 2 Doomsday, though.
Quite possibly.
Well, not using the untapped Underground Sea. It's not like we have a cantrip coming.
Yeah, the fact that Evil never finished shuffling, yeah, this is a Doomsday.
Yeah, there you go.
Just puts the deck down without cutting it. Yeah, this is a Doomsday.
So here's the real question. He knows about the Living Wish. Do you make your wish pile, or do you make your Doomsday pile beat an endurance that can happen in the next turn? That's the real question. Is Evil going to get to that level to expect this Living Wish to be able to go and get the one of endurance?
I'm not entirely sure if that's something that's on Evil's radar, to be totally honest.
It wouldn't be on mine.
Yeah. Like, I imagine that you would be, given that this is a base green deck and Endurance is just an absolute house of a card. Evil only has 2 cards in hand. Oh. Ooh, that force hurt. So this is going to be interesting because Evil has 2 cards in his hand. So either he needs to build a pile that's able to go off from here. Like I don't know what those two cards in his hand are, but I would imagine that it's probably going to involve an Ideas Unbound coming forward here.
I believe if you have exactly Lotus Petal Brainstorm here, or Lotus Petal Cycler, you would be able to craft a pile that can get there.
Yeah, or LED Cycler would be better. But
Yeah, well, yeah, that does it as well. In theory, if Brainstorm Lotus Petal requires you to get the Lion's Eye Diamond in that pile, but yeah, if you have it naturally right now, that's fine as well.
mhm.
But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's a lot more likely that we're about to craft this pile of 5, trying to win on the next turn. So it's all about whether or not he's expecting Ardletter to be able to cast this Living Wish for an Endurance.
Yeah.
And if so, you're under zero pressure. Like,
Yeah.
to be totally honest, right now, probably one of the best lines is just getting the other two, like Cycler, Force of Will, Thassa's Oracle, and then just literally wait 2 turns.
Yeah.
Draw the Cycler. No, I guess you have to wait 3 turns with that line.
Yeah.
But you're under no pressure. You might as well go with it.
Yep. And the other thing of note here too is that ours going to be able to untap and play a land to play around days. So we got 1, 2.
2 Force of Wills. There's no Force of Wills in this pile.
Yep, 3. And then there's 1 at the bottom. So all 4 Force of Wills are out. LED is out. Let's keep track of the pedal. There's at least one. I don't recall seeing Ideas Unbound or Edge of Autumn.
All right, let's see what happens here. Is this a pass back?
That very
There we
well
go.
could
All
be.
right.
Yep.
All right,
Pass
Ardletter.
back.
This is it right here.
We'll see what's going on here right now. There we go. Play out the other land. Pay 2. Cast Living Wish. Oh yeah.
Endurance, be able to or be able to alternate cast it through a days.
Claire Starks, if you're looking for something to play at an event tomorrow, you should go take a look in the deck discussion channel. I posted my Battle of Wits deck there. You should go try that. It's fun.
You know, we expect you to have every single one of those cards in the Battle of Wit decks. It's fine.
Yeah, and here's the Endurance. So actually, another possibility is: does Evil's hand have Thoughtseize or Duress in it, or Thoughtseize specifically, because Duress won't cut it.
Oh, that's a way that you can craft the pile as well that I hadn't thought of.
Yeah. That being said, I'm pretty sure if there is a Thoughtseize, you would just absolutely put the Endurance in first. Just because that if you do that, then at least it makes it 1 card deeper you have to go.
Yeah, that's true, but you're also very likely taking your Enchantress effect. And that you're not going to win that game, right? Because Evil will literally just take all the draw steps.
Yeah. The other thing that's interesting here too is the fact that if Evil doesn't try and go off right now, there's a possibility. Oh, okay. So with R being able to untap here, R will actually be able to just cast this Endurance with Flash. And if it doesn't get countered, A, it'll do the job it's supposed to do, and B, it's also a 3/4 beater.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Paying 2, casting Sithis.
Interesting.
Huh.
So this isn't going to be able to pressure the life total in the same way. So if, kind of talking about your line Prez, if you pass back, Evil is unable to go for it for the turn. You then cast the Endurance, force a shuffle, so the pile is no longer in the order that Evil wanted. Get the Doomsday in there, so there's 1 more, and then you have a 2-turn clock, or I'm sorry, a 3-turn clock that would have turned off any Street Wraiths.
Yeah.
Or
So
Thoughtseize.
the interesting thing here is that by Evil playing out Street Wraith here, or any of these cyclers, that's 1 for 1, adding a card to the graveyard. Thassa's Oracle. How many cards are left in library here?
It should be 3. Doomsday path. Oh no, it should be 2. I'm sorry, I forgot about
2
the other
cards
term.
left. So yeah, I think he just has to flash in Endurance here.
Yeah, you're priced into.
You can see
Players
ours
figuring out
trying to think
exactly.
about what's going on. Yeah, you
Yeah,
just
I
have to
think
do it.
also just figuring out where exactly we are off the stack right now, whether or not we're about to cast this endurance in response to the Thassa's Oracle with the trigger on the stack, where exactly it's happening.
Yeah. So this is gonna shuffle up the Doomsday and the Street Wraith, and then put it at the bottom of the pile.
It doesn't just shuffle all the way in. How does
No,
endurance work again?
it shuffles your graveyard up and then puts them on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So the top two cards are going to be here, and actually, Evil's going to get his trigger, and he's going to be able to look through. But the problem is that if Evil didn't board in the second Thoracle, then there's not really a way to get through the rest of here.
Truly randomizing what's going to be on the bottom.
Yep.
The unfortunate
Like
thing about this is now it's known. Like this is not ideal form of randomization. It's not going to matter. We're not going to stop this. But now the players know which of the cards are on bottom in theory, right?
well, provided that they knew which of those cards was which. So,
Yeah, that
cycle Edge of Autumn here. Draw. So interestingly here enough, if Evil did board in the second Thoracle, if this is Petal Thoracle, that's a win.
well, no, there's 3 cards in the deck now, right?
Yeah, but your devotion is 4.
Oh, that's right. I mean, I imagine the trigger's still on the stack. Evil's
Yeah.
trying to figure out.
Oh, and Chaotic Bear, a lovely streamer for today, bringing up a good point. That endurance was evoked. It needs to be sacrificed here right away.
We're gonna assume the triggers were stacked with. Actually,
There
no,
we
you're
go.
right.
Perfect. So if you're in Evil's spot and you didn't board in the Thoracle, do you just concede here, or do you try and pretend like you still have it?
If you don't have a way to win, I would just concede. But,
Yeah. So we got one card on top, one card on the bottom. So now Evil knows the bottom of his 4-card library.
well, no, it's 3 because we just edge of autumn, right?
I believe the Edge of Autumn was in response to the Thoracle trigger still.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to get a shuffle off of the Prismatic Omen here. Very comfortable 18 life.
See, I feel like the endurance was known information.
Yeah.
Evil,
Uh,
so Evil played into it, knowing that he was going to lose to it. So the fact that he did that tells me that he has to have the other Oracle, right?
I would imagine so. Um, just given the fact that the Oracle was there, I would imagine that the other one would be in. Either that or he's kind of just like, oh, I have no way to get around this. But
But he did have a way to get around it by just waiting more turns, right?
yeah,
And just wait until you have 2 cards, or I'm sorry, 1 card in library, cast the Thoracle at that point. You only have the
yeah.
Doomsday in the graveyard.
So
And
cast
then
Sithis, Legend Rule, and then gain a life, draw a card. Cast either Utopia Sprawl or cast U Sprawl. Draw a card, gain a life, and then this is Paladin class here. Okay,
just
cool. They stayed in. Interesting.
so I have to pull this back up. Paladin class, the first mode, it's a 1-mana enchantment, of course, and with the subtype class, spells your opponent's cast during your turn cost 1 more to cast. Doesn't work the way that I thought it did at the beginning of commentating this match. 3 to level it up, and creatures you control get +1/+1 in addition to that level 1. 5 to level up, and then whenever you attack, until your next turn, target attacking creature gets +1/+1 for each other attacking creature and gains double strike. So the cool thing about this is Paladin class, ironically enough, gives you a win condition besides Emrakul.
Yeah, which I think is super sweet.
You just pay 8 mana into it and then attack with like 3 Enchantress creatures on
Yeah.
board.
So
And yeah,
I
they just are lethal.
yeah. There's just one thing I want to stress here. I actually really like the line of Oblivion ringing the other Oracle. just because that in the event that they're is that a consign to oblivion? Oh
Oh,
wow.
that makes sense. Okay.
Whoo. Oh. Okay, evil's
The
back in this game.
the
Uh-oh.
reader card that we had to talk about inside burning did in fact come in. That's some flexibility right there. That's versatility.
Ooh, we got there, Oliver.
Well, I just looked at that, of course, as like stupid me, a non-Doomsday player. I'm just like, oh, that's just interaction. That's just for bouncing something. You can bounce your own fastest oracle. That's a good way to make it relevant.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Turns out you don't need the other Thassa's Oracle when you have Consigned to Oblivion.
Yeah. I actually do like the consign to oblivion, given that you're not entirely sure what exactly is going to be happening in this particular matchup. However, I think the other thing though too is that this allowed Evil to clear the endurance, and it'll also allow him to get his library potentially down to 0 if he has another cycler. The Edge of Autumn's in the graveyard. Never mind. If there's another cycler there, he'll be able to cycle the card back and then be able to make it so as that way will be 0 cards in library, and then that way the Thoracle will win the game.
Did we not attack? Did Are the Letter not attack on this last turn after casting the?
The Thoracle was still out. Evil bounced it on end step.
Oh,
I'm
that's
pretty
very
sure.
true. That's very true.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you do here now if you're Are the Letter? You can't lethal this turn unless you go. God, even if you go Sarah's Sanctum, the natural Sarah's Sanctum, maybe then chain like 2 wild growth effects and be able to double level up.
I
But
think
then
your
you're only
best bet
paying
here
for
is to just
4.
hope you have a Destiny Spinner and then just make lands large.
Oh, okay, that's true. That's a way to do it as well.
Yeah. Oh, they're laughing about O-ringing the Oracle, which actually, given the consign to Oblivion, would have actually been lethal there. Because the Oracle would have re-entered the battlefield and then won the game on the spot.
Yeah, good thing you did not O-ring that.
Yeah. I was thinking about it for the second Thoracle about in terms of reducing the devotion. But in this case, yeah, you definitely want to make sure that that O-ring stays in hand now. Unless you O-ring your Paladin class or something like that.
Big shout out to Pie Boy, who's spotting the match for us, is down at the table with Evil and Are the Letter. Also, big props to Chaotic Bear, who is our stream tech today, running everything behind the scenes. But Pie Boy pointing out, making it clear to everybody that Evil is in fact very tired. Cathar, you are quite right.
Yep.
Ooh, a Living Wish. Ooh, what do we
Oof.
get here? So the endurance is gone. You can go and get Solitude, maybe, as a way to just force Evil to actually get to 0 cards in library. You could. What else can you really do?
I think that's probably about all that you can do at this particular point. I think you would just need to grab
Get
what
Solitude.
was get Solitude? Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I think it's just because that forces Evil to have actual 0 cards in library before he can attempt to go off.
And this is threatening lethal on the next turn.
Yeah.
Because we have the white card to pitch in the in. Oh, okay. This is cool. So Evil now needs Mana Source, Cantrip.
That isn't Brainstorm, because Brainstorm will kill Evil with 1 card left in library.
Oh, so it has to be another Cycler, which we know there's a Street Wraith. Thassa Oracle. Solitude Pitch.
Solitude pitch the O-ring, which I'm sure you're very happy to pitch that O-ring right now. And your devotion will be equal to 0.
Is it the Street Wraith? It's not the Street Wraith.
Oh no.
Oh, the last card on the bottom must be the 1 Street Wraith then.
That's
The random shuffle was rather. Oh,
had the
it
Street
was
Wraith in hand. Oh no, got it
It
anyway.
It came down to the random shuffle off the endurance. That was such a fantastic match. Shout out to Evil for taking down today's challenge. But Are the Letter, that if you come back and watch this reel, that second game was really fantastic. It really was.
That was so good.
Fantastic run with Witch House also. It's been so long since we've got to see a deck like this actually do well in one of our challenges. And yeah, what a fantastic game. I am going to need to look at this Living Wish package a little bit more for sure.
Yeah.
Prez, I got a question. If you were in chat today and you're thinking, man, I would like to get involved with what's going on, how could you do that?
So if you're able to type in exclamation point Discord in the Twitch chat, that'll get you a link to join the Discord. We have over 2,600 members, players of Legacy, which is our favorite format. And yeah, we just play all day, every day over Webcam. We have monthly leagues to fire up. We have weekly challenges. We have a quarterly invitational, which is next weekend. So that's going to be super, super hype. That's going to be an all day stream. I am looking so forward to working on that one. And other than that, yeah, leagues are a great way to get in. The weekly challenges we have every Saturday, every second Sunday, European timed events or Asia Pacific as well. And then we also have Tuesday stream nights as well. Sometimes we do Legacy Live, sometimes we do Fight Night. So
Yeah, of note, we of course do not have a Saturday tournament next week. Do not come to us expecting to play a week from now because we will be in full suit get up, going ahead and commentating with the top 16 players who've been playing with us over the past 3 months, really grinding it out, getting points. Of note, we actually, even though our previous invitational champion, Champagne, was not on the grind this season, Champagne gets in by virtue, grandfathered in by his victory in the third invitational. So we'll get to see him starting off at the bottom of the bracket and trying to work his way all the way back up. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be going ahead with it all day. We'll make sure that we're hitting up the Discord, making sure everyone's aware of it, and come and join us because it's honestly some of the best content that we put on here at this Discord. Prez, you got anything you want to say to the people before we get on out of here?
No, we should be good for the most part, other than we hope to see you all again very soon. And until next time, we are the MTG Paper Legacy Discord. Let us be your local meta.
Take care, fam.